I'd like to point out Tony Campbell in the back from the Capitola Friends, who called this lovely woman here Dinah Phillips, and she said, do you have any suggestions about what we might do around this coffee cantata piece? And so right away, Dinah had this idea. This has been the easiest event for us to plan because Dinah did all the work. Dinah's a singer herself, and she's apparently, I just met her for the first time, but full of great ideas and tons of energy. So she didn't stop at just saying, oh yeah, we'll do an aria for you. She got accompanyists and decided to do her own talk about coffee and the coffee culture in Bach's time. So we thank you so much and welcome to our community reads. And oh, the other thing, if you aren't on our mailing list, we have a sign-up form out there. And so if you join the list next year, you'll be invited to the voting party where we choose the book, and then you'll be, aware of all of the events ahead of time. So, yeah.
It's really exciting to be here, and you are in for such a treat. And this is what is so much fun about living in a small community, where someone can say, oh, Bach, coffee, and they can call me and I can say, Lori, maybe you know the coffee cantata. We can say, yeah, oh, there's Michelle, and Michelle knows these fabulous people. Bring some of them in from San Francisco. And then we can say, we should let people know what's in this whole thing, and we get other people involved. And it's such a joy to live in a small community with so many connections. So you're part of it now. You're all connected to all of us. So I'm going to give you some fun facts about Johann Sebastian Bach. And let me say to start out, unencumbered as I am with any musical history training, you're going to get what you get. And if you know a lot about Bach, like some of you do, just go with me. Just go with me, okay? And it's because it's going to be fun. It's not, there's no test or anything afterwards. I have looked, and I can find nothing. I have looked on Google and in a few books, and I have not found anything that actually verifies that Bach drank 30 cups of coffee. It is apparently a rumor, but we like it. But when he died, his household, he had like a big pewter coffee cup, a small pewter coffee cup, a very small pewter coffee cup, and some cups. And so I don't know if the 30 cups, but it was still very important to him. So he was born in 1685, died in 1750, so he lived 65 years. Bach fathered 20 children with 2 wives. There is an old joke about that, and if you see me afterwards, I'll be happy to tell it. As was typical of the times, only about 10 of those children lived to adulthood. And if you think about Bach in his days, you think about composers today, they're independent artists more. They might teach at a university, they might conduct orchestras, they do a lot of their work on commissions. That's not what Bach did. He was essentially a salaried, middle-class, business-savvy professional musician and was a civil servant for much of his time. He worked as a professional musician in a variety of places as a violinist, an organist, and music director. When he was about 32 years old, he was offered the position of Kapellmeister, choir master, for Prince Leopold. Not the British one, but the German one. And this was a terrific job. He was really excited about it. And he was so excited, he immediately accepted. But he forgot that he was already under contract with some other people. And they were not happy at this, and they were really angry about his insolence, and they had him thrown into jail for breaking his contract. Luckily, he had a prince on his side, and the prince got him out of jail. So this was such a great job. The prince loved music. He was a good singer himself. He played instruments. He had, in his household, he had a whole little orchestra. And Bach would write music and direct it, and they would have a concert every Friday, and the prince was having a great time. Bach was having a great time until, alas, the prince got married. And his new wife, she didn't much like Bach's music, and she probably didn't like all the time that her new husband was spending with his other buddies. So the prince kind of got pulled in another direction, and Bach looked around and found himself stuck in an isolated town far away from the cultural centers of Germany, and it's not looking good. Plus, he had sons who were going to need to go to college. Apparently, his daughters were not a concern as to that. But so he looked around and started applying for a new position in the prosperous town. Did I hear a phone go off? Goodness gracious. In prosperous Leipzig. And he looked at it, the base salary wasn't much, but it came with housing, and he had all these children, and there was a university that his sons could go to. Oddly enough, in our time, this position was hired by the city council of Leipzig. And it went about as well as you can imagine that went. As they were doing their recruitment, because Leipzig had so much money, they wanted only the best musician to come take this position. And when they got Bach's application, they set it aside. He was not what they were looking for. So all the other applicants, though, they withdrew. And we think that they were really trying to, I'm applying for that Leipzig position so they could negotiate a better deal with their current employers. So finally, they ended up, and they got that down to Bach being the only one they had. And in the minutes, because you gotta love bureaucracy, so the minutes from back, in the 1600s, we had the minutes of the city council there, and it said, since the best applicants are no longer available, less acceptable candidates must be considered. Enter Johann Sebastian Bach. He traveled to Leipzig to audition for the City Fathers, and he conducted a choir and 2 of his cantatas. And he met with several theologians in a very long meeting where they examined his religious faith and principles to make sure that he would live up to the standards of Leipzig. He passed, and the contract was signed. So Bach went from being essentially the prince's darling to being a hired civil servant. And you know about local government, this was going to be a very different kettle of fish. He stayed in Leipzig for the rest of his life, for 27 years, overseeing the music in 2 big churches there. And during that time, he wrote the Magnificat, 4 Passions, more than 300 cantatas, at least 9 choral motets, and part of the B minor Mass. It's estimated that he was involved with as many as 1,500 church services, producing all of this music, performing each time to a capacity of about 2,000 people or more. Shoot me now. The sheer quantity of the music that Bach wrote, that he created, that came out of his mind, it's been estimated that if you hired someone to just copy it, not write it, not think of it, just copy it out, it would take them 70 years to do it. And remember, he died at 65. So this was a punishing schedule, and Bach probably longed for happier days back with his buddy, the Prince Leopold. After a few years in Leipzig, he wrote a letter to an old friend, and he outlined the reasons for his discontent in Leipzig. His reasons may be familiar to all of you as well. Number 1, the post was by no means as lucrative as he had been told it would be. Familiar. 2, he has failed to obtain many of the fees pertaining to his office. 3, all of you understand this one. Leipzig is very expensive to live in. And he said, the authorities, the city council guys, the authorities are odd and not much interested in music. So I must live amid almost constant vexation, envy, and persecution. The sad plight of so many musicians. So how did coffee get involved with this? You could say it would be silly, but I'm going to say it anyway. You could say that the coffee cantata is the result of centuries of war between the European Christians and the Muslims, going all the way back to the Crusades. After centuries of fighting, centuries of fighting. It started in 1000, right? We're up to 1600 now. They had the final battle. So they've been fighting. It's like, you know, the Muslims would take territory, the Christians would take it back. The Christians would head up, good, we got to get Jerusalem, back and forth, fighting over religion, fighting over land. It's been going on for generations and centuries. The final battle was in Vienna in 1683, and the Ottomans had a 2-month siege going on in Vienna. And then Prince John Sobieski, the King of Poland, came riding in on his horses, drove the Ottomans out, saved Vienna, saved Europe, carried out this stunning defeat. And actually, that was the last time the Ottomans tried to move into Europe again. So after the battle, the Ottomans fled back to their home territory, and they've been on siege. They left all of this stuff everywhere, right? So all the people who'd been fighting, all the victors, went in to get whatever they could. And they got tents, sheep, cattle, some camels. That would have been exciting. And there were some bags of dry beans that everybody thought was horse fodder. But this Polish guy recognized them as coffee beans, so he got all of them. He seized all of these bags and used them to open Vienna's first coffee house. I know! And he looked around at the people in Vienna and he said, you know, they're not gonna like black coffee. I'm gonna add some milk to it. And he did, and they loved it. And so he sold all kinds of coffee in there. He was right, they loved it. And a little side note, the bakers in Austria, they're all celebrating, right? They've had this huge victory, the Ottomans are gone. The bakers developed a cake, and it was shaped in a crescent, like the Ottoman symbol, right? Still the crescent. And it was delicious, everybody loved it. It made its way to France. They tweaked it, changed it around, turned into a croissant. So when you're over, you know, at your local coffee house having a latte or a coffee mixlog and a croissant, you are celebrating an epic battle from 1683. You are much more cosmopolitan than you realize. So, once coffee was introduced, it spread all over Europe, and always is true, the introduction of anything new is seldom accomplished without resistance from some quarters. The consumption of coffee was widely denounced by those who aspired to respectability, and particularly by those who consider it their duty to supervise public morality. You know that. Many people believe that a cup of coffee was the first step towards a complete spiritual and intellectual collapse. At the same time, across the channel in England, a group of, isn't it always, English women issued an anonymous petition, women's petition against coffee, asking that the substance be banned. You know, they banned gin, they banned booze, they banned coffee, so they're doing coffee, and they said, because coffee leads men to trifle away their time, scald their chops, and spend their money all for a little base, black, thick, nasty, bitter, stinking, nauseous puddle water. To no one's surprise, it had little effect. Also, because coffee came to Europe by way of trade with the Middle East, staunch Catholics associated coffee with Muslims and Islam and thought of it as the devilish drink of Satan. Coffee's reputation was only saved when Pope Clement VIII, who knows, this is hundreds of years ago. Anyway, Pope Clement had a sip of coffee and reportedly proclaimed, "This Satan's drink is so delicious it would be a pity to let the infidels have exclusive use of it." So inevitably, within a few years, coffee was deemed acceptable if consumed discreetly, in private, and by members of the male sex. I know! But once corrosion begins, once standards start to slip, as moralists will tell us, it is a slippery slope, and there's no telling where it will stop. So sure enough, it was eventually conceded that the judgment and reputation of a mature woman could possibly withstand an occasional cup of coffee. Which brings us to Zimmermann's Coffee House in Leipzig, which has become Bach's second home. Zimmermann's Coffee House was the largest, fanciest coffee house in town. It was 2 stories high. The rooms were large, they were crowded, they were noisy, they were smelly. Everybody was smelly. It was smoky, but it was really lively. Patrons could have coffee, tea, hot chocolate, wine, beer, other alcoholic drinks, as well as a wide variety of food. And Bach put on weekly performances there. He had a group called the Collegium Musicum. It was the finest instrumentalists and musicians from all of Leipzig, from the university, from the town. And Bach was like in charge of the whole thing. He was like the composer, the arranger, and the band leader. And they would put on weekly performances there. And we think that this is where he wrote the coffee cantata because it would be perfect for that, right? So it is at this point in time, along the inexorable road to perdition, that today's powerful drama begins. The fateful clash between the old ways and the new ways, between upright respectability and inevitable ruin, you heathens, you, between a loving father and a girl who just wants to have fun. So let's follow these master musicians into Zimmermann's Coffee House for a performance of Johann Sebastian Bach's Coffee Cantata with old Father Schlendrian, that means stick in the mud, and his daughter Lieschen. I present the Coffee Cantata.
Be quiet, stop chattering, and pay attention to what's taking place. I think I see Herr Schlendrian and his daughter Lieschen. He is growling like a honey bear. Listen for yourselves and see what she has done to him.
Don't one's children cause one endless trials and tribulation? What I say to my daughter each day, Lieschen, falls on stony ground. Oh, you wicked child, you disobedient girl. Oh, when will I get my way? Give up coffee.
Father, do not be so severe. If I can't drink my bowl of coffee 3 times daily, then in my torment I will shrivel up like a roast goat. How sweet coffee tastes. More delicious than 1,000 kisses. More mellow than muscatel wine. Coffee. Coffee. I must have my coffee, and if someone wishes to give me a treat, then pour me some coffee.
Through the magic of not television,
Coffee! Coffee I must have! And if someone wishes to give me a treat, then pour me some coffee.
If you don't give up drinking coffee, you shan't go to any wedding feast, nor go out walking.
Oh, well. Just leave me my coffee.
Now I have the little minx. I won't get you a whalebone skirt in the latest fashion.
I can easily live with that.
You're not to stand at the window and watch people pass by.
That is well. Only I beg of you, just leave me my coffee.
Furthermore, you shan't be getting any silver or gold ribbons for your bonnet from me.
Yes, yes. Just leave me my pleasure.
You're impossible, Lieschen. You would give up everything I say? Girls with obstinate minds are not easily won over. But if you hit the right spot, oh, then you're in luck. Now, take heed what your father says.
In everything but coffee.
Well then, you'll have to resign yourself to never having a husband.
A husband? Father, a husband?
I swear, it won't happen.
Until I can forego coffee? From now on, coffee, Father, remain forever untouched. Father, listen, I won't drink any.
Then you shall have a husband.
Oh, today even, Father, see to it. Oh, a husband. Really, that suits me splendidly. If it only could happen so soon that at last, before I go to bed, instead of coffee, I could get a proper lover.
Old Schlendrian goes off to see if he can find a husband for his daughter forthwith. But Lieschen secretly lets it be known. No suitor is to come to my house unless he promises me, and it is written into the marriage contract, that I can prepare coffee for myself whenever I want. The cat will not stop catching mice, and young women remain faithful to their coffee. The mother holds her coffee dear, The grandmother loved hers too. Who can blame the daughters?
Was played by Ward Willits. Ward has a checkered acting career. He just completed his 4th year with 8 10s at 8, and he was fabulous. I'm sure many of you have seen him there. The part of Lucian was double cast. Isabella Seidman did the speaking role. Isabella is a, where is she? She is a childhood educator and especially enjoys doing theater with kids. She's currently performing in the real opera by Puccini's Suor Angelica at Cabrillo this month, so watch for that. Lori Schumann, behind her, is a lyric coloratura-soprano, which means she sings really high, really fast. Because opera encloses everything in the world, she is currently in rehearsals for another opera called Jerry Springer, the Opera, where she will play 2 roles, one as Andrea and the other as Archangel Michael, of course. Later this year, she will play Laurie in Copeland's The Tenderland with Ensemble Monterey Chamber Orchestra and Adele in Fledermaus with the Santa Cruz Opera Project. Susan Willits was our narrator. Susan is the director of Community Music School and is a Celtic harp player. On piano is the estimable Michelle Songuer, who is the director of Expressivo, a small, intense orchestra here in Santa Cruz County. They have concerts coming up soon. Look them up and go. It's going to be fabulous. He was joined by Judy Roberts on cello and Diane Ruby on flute, who came all the way from in Zimmerman's Coffee House back in the 1600s. But you know, times change. Coffee houses remain and music remains. If we were there in Zimmerman's, there would be a harpsichord, a flute, a violin, a cello. It's different now. Today, we have a boombox, but there's still music.
There's a boy who works at Starbucks. He is very inspirational. He is very inspirational because of many things. I come in at 8:11 and he smiles and says, "How are you?" And he smiles and says, "How are you?" I could swear my heart grows wings. So today at 8:11, I decided I should meet him. I decided I should meet him in a proper, formal way. So today at 8:11, when he smiled and said, "How are you?" I said, "Hi, and my name's Bella." And he softly answered, "Hey." And I said that my name's Bella, and thank you for the extra fun. And he said his name was Taylor, which provides the inspiration for this poem. Taylor, the latte boy, bring me Java, bring me joy. Oh, Taylor, the latte boy, I love him, I love him, I love him. So I'd like to get my nerve up and recite. Because he plays guitar. And so today at 8:11, Taylor told me he was playing in a band down in the village, in the basement of a bar. And he smoothly flipped the lever to prepare my double latte. But for me, he made it triple, and he didn't think I knew. But I saw him flip the lever, and for me, he made it triple. And I knew that triple latte meant that Taylor loved me too. So I said, "What time are you playing? And thank you for the extra skim." on him. Taylor, the latte boy, bring me Java, bring me joy. Oh, Taylor, the latte boy, I love him, I love him, I love him. I used to be the kind of girl who'd run when love rushed toward her. But finally a voice whispered, love can be yours if you step up to the counter and order. Taylor, the latte boy, bring me Java, bring me joy. Oh, Taylor, the latte boy, I love him, I love him, I love him. So many years my heart has waited. Who'd have thought that love could be so caffeinated? Taylor, the latte boy, I love him, I love him, I love him. I love him, I love him, I love
Oh my God, that was the latte girl. I saw her back in like 2024, and now she's on Broadway. Thank you, Isabella. That was fabulous. So, how many of you have read the book, The Monk of Mocha? Let's see. Who's done the homework? No. That's fine. That's fine. I haven't finished it yet. And so, this is from the Port of Mocha. This is some of the coffee. And I don't know if you've gone to the website or not. It is a beautiful website, and you can buy 5 ounces of coffee beans for $28. It's good coffee. So we are going to give this to somebody who came here, and we were way too smart for our own good. So we put a little thing under a seat, and then we watched, and it's like there's nobody in the seat. Oh my God. So we moved it. And now, I hate to tell you, there's nobody in the second seat. But there is somebody who was in the first seat that we had it, and so you get some coffee. Congratulations.